Join us for a concept comparing review, estate versus SUV, with the examples of Peugeot 508 SW versus the DS7 Crossback. Two very interesting French cars. Let's go! Please subscribe to us if you haven't done so far, and thank you so much for all long-term subscribers. Here, both fronts, very interesting. We have both vehicles in the sporty trim, the 508 GT and the DS7 Crossback performance line, so both the sporty visuals. Here in the 508 we have this pin grille with the shiny dots and also a stronger lower bumper. The plug-in hybrid version only available as a top trim, the Allure or the GT. That's why it's also the GT here today. And then usually it would start with halogen headlamps, and then in the GT trim and also in the plug-in hybrid trim, here automatically comes then with the LEDs and a very beautiful strong look in the front. Then the DS7 Crossback here in the performance line gets the shiny wide front grille, in general a big stance on the road. It has something of the Audi Q5, doesn't it? You know, also with this Audi-like single frame grille. Then a sportier contrast in the lower part, but overall also a very clean design in the front. And here it would start with xenon headlamps and optional and also the LED, but LED again also included in this very trim here with this crystalline design effect on the inside. I think a beautiful job. 4,59 meters or 181 inches for the DS7 Crossback and 4,75 meters or 187 inches for the Peugeot 508. So 16 centimeters or 6 inches is the difference. So the DS7 Crossback, yes, and I came on this side today, taking your bets. So this one here, the DS7 Crossback, a little bit shorter. And this SUV just available as it is right here. And just simple design lines. You see the drop-in line here above the door handle. Then the crossover look here at the crossover cladding right there. DS performance line. So this performance line is both an inspiration and a trim level. Soon explain you more about that. 20-inch wheels here, the optional one. Usually the performance line comes with 19-inch wheels, and the total range for the DS7 Crossback is 17 to 20-inch. A little bit smaller for the 508. This then here is 16-inch to maximum of 19-inch, and we have a good compromise here with 18-inch wheels. I would advise you to go for these here. 17-inch would be standard for the GT, and then optional here the 18-inch, and they have a good compromise between comfort and the looks. Both these cars show that French design is definitely back. I mean, this estate here is just a beautiful job in the rear. It's a normal hatch ending, but still it got so much elegance. Then also with these Peugeot claws as the signature LED, so I think really cool. And no fake exhaust, so no job for the Autogefühl fake exhaust police right here. And it comes just with one standard suspension. Here, the DS7 Crossback, a very interesting job here again with this, artwork style tail lamps. Pretty cool. They call it E10s when this is the plug-in hybrid version, E10s 4x4 when it is the optional one that also has the additional electric motor in the rear. Both cars from the PSA Corporation, they share a lot of different parts, also the engines, and they have turbo petrol and turbo diesels. But today here about the top spec plug-in hybrid versions. And you can see here the engine powers the front wheels, and also the electric motor powers the front wheels. So this one here is front wheel drive only, 224 horsepower, 1.6 liter turbo petrol engine made it to this electric motor. And this is not available with the all-wheel drive. It is, however, available with this one here, the DS7 Crossback, either the same spec with 225 horsepower and the front-wheel drive electric motor, or then optional 300 horsepower, and then you get an additional electric motor in the rear. And about charging, oh wait, that's a microphone. About charging, battery size 13.2 kilowatt hours gross, and that means an electric range of about 50 kilometers or 30 miles, the pure electric range, and maximum AC charging. You can see it right here, 7.4 kilowatt. Khaki DS7 Crossback, here with the red performance line color, but the same basic key as also the Peugeots have, also with the keyless entry once more, closing, and also the side mirror flips in and opening, door closing sound. It's quite solid. Then the performance line, this is a so-called inspiration, so a base design level with a lot of Alcantara, but it's a trim level at the same time. So they use these inspirations for how it looks like and trim levels of how much equipment you have. But performance line is both, so to say. Yeah, that's a little bit complicated what they did there. Soft touch also at the top part of the door. Then the performance line also features this sport steering wheel, flat bottom, red contour stitches on the inside, more Alcantara use, soft touch dashboard, also aluminum pedals together with performance line floor mats. Then let's get inside. SUV seating position, you have actually a lot of space. Then when you hit the ignition here, you see this comfort entry that the seat goes a little bit forward. The steering wheel with a manual control in and out and so on. And then the headroom here with 1.86 or 6.1, pretty close. This also seat in the lowest position. However, this one here is also equipped with the panoramic roof. Have to turn on the ignition once more, a little bit more. Let's see. No, still won't work. Only with the engine on. Here we go. And then we can, first of all, have this cover here, the slider, and then open it completely like this. Interior overview, very interesting, a unique design. Performance line also, and then here features so much microfiber, and also at the inside parts here that your knees are also softened up, so to say. Really cool and so unique, definitely. So 2x 12-inch screens, and when you turn on the ignition, you can see here the analog clock folds out. Interesting. Soon more details to the screens each. Then you can see here in the lower part capacitive buttons. Just the volume wheel here. This is still a real one. Everything else capacitive. Steering wheel has a good size and also a unique setup. Right side for changing radio stations, for example, and left side then for changing something in the instruments. There are the digital ones. Infotainment screen. So this is the hidden main menu, so to say. And here, climate unit, just controlling it here or with the voice command. This will also be possible. Increased temperature. Increased temperature. It's not a natural voice input, but here it works a little bit here. And this is the Apple CarPlay integration, so very large, definitely. The sound system, let's test it here. Yeah, that's a nice sound, so nice. Can't complain about that, so that sounds good. And you can always go back to the hidden main menu with 3 fingers and then like this. Other than that, in the lower part, you can also have this hotkey here for the climate unit or, for example, for the GPS. And GPS also, a little bit laggy, so not really happy with it. I would rather than use the, if you have enough data volume, the GPS of your smartphone, definitely. And the digital instruments, they are really flexible. Energy, view here, for example, but you can also switch it around. And the visualizations, they take some time, so that can be a little bit annoying. Driving, yeah. There we are for assistance systems, for example. Getting inside the rear of the DS7 Crossback, easy entry once again, although the doors don't open too wide. Soft touch at the top door here in the rear, and a lot of nice Alcantara views once more. Legroom, there's actually plenty, so pretty cool, quite spacious here. That's also an advantage if you compare it to the Peugeot 508. Car key feels quite good actually, solid. Keyless entry, put your hand on the outside to close it, and also the mirrors go in. Here the contrasting color also then inside goes up. And it also folds automatically downwards when you put in reverse gear, that you can check the rear tires, and goes up again when you put in drive mode. Good function. Door closing sound. Extremely weird. Yeah, that's the downside, and one of the reasons is we have these beautiful frameless doors, but they are then, you know, also an emotional element. Then soft touch at the top part here, really soft, and also these nice wooden elements. It feels matte, it feels like a structure, it's really cool, so very well done. Optional focal sound system, then slim door pockets, and this is the GT trim, as I said. First of all, more from this wooden insert. Really looks so premium, extremely cool. GT trim, flat bottom steering wheel, then contrast stitching, and usually GT trims comes with black Alcantara on the inside and leather red on the outside, so an animal-free seat, very cool. But also high-class premium, and here in the plug-in hybrid version, exclusively with this grey Alcantara. What a great job! This looks like a high-class furniture design. So really a nice job, sporty but yet stylish, so awesome job as for this. Let's take a seat inside. And by the way, the Allure trim that is also available for the plug-in hybrid would have then fabric inserts here instead of the Alcantara. Climate-wise, in summer, the fabric would stay even a little bit cooler than the Alcantara. But of course, if you would go for the optional animal skin, then it's even worse for summer times, because you would stick to the seat and it gets really hot. Interior overview here, Peugeot 508, soft touch dashboard, then the 12.3-inch instruments here, digital instruments. On the right side, first of all, the focal sound system has no speaker right there. Then again, this very nice insert, beautiful decal element, contrast stitching, 10-inch screen right here. And one catch already right there, you have to control the temperature right here in the screen, and while driving, yeah, that's not that good. You can theoretically also use here increase temperature. Temperature changed. So this is possible, for example, while driving, but a little bit annoying still. So I miss the old knobs. At least we have a separate volume knob. I really like that. Soon more details to the screens. You can see here you have some hotkeys right there. So for example, for the plug-in hybrid version, you can switch to this energy menu where you can see the flow of energy, for example, or go to the e-save mode that you can actually reserve some electric energy for later. Talking about that while driving. And again, a little bit more details soon to that. In the lower part, you have this capacitive button for seat heating. Then driving mode selector, also going to talk about that while driving. Shifting lever, and then another, one more of these wooden inserts. So hardly any black piano lacquer, very cool. Then here's some more space, for example, for the key. Infotainment system up close. There's always a trick with 3 fingers. Then you can go to a hidden main menu, so to say. Other than that, you can also use these hotkeys. For example, again, to access the climate unit or the GPS. The GPS itself could be a little bit more responsive. You see here it lags a little bit behind. So yeah, probably better use the one of the Apple CarPlay. And you can access it here with this phone hotkey. And then you can also go to your Apple CarPlay maps, and with Auto also working with the cable connection. And let's listen to this optional focal sound system. I would say let's go here. So it says right here. That's nice. The digital instruments are quite fancy. Here you can see the energy flow, for example, but you can also have different views like a more classic analog dial view. The visualizations look fancy, but they take a lot of time. That's a little bit annoying while driving, for example. And there we go. This is also possible, and the GPS map can also be put right there in the middle. This is probably also one of the most useful views then for this car. Let's get inside here, 508 in the rear. First of all, also soft touch at the rear doors, that's nice, but the rear door doesn't open too wide, so not practical for child seats and so on. If you sit in the rear, you would need to tell the driver, put the seat a little bit up, then you can put your feet a little bit better underneath, and there's not too much leg room left here, and the back part of the seat is also, a little bit strange. So about that trunk, electric hatch, 555 to 1750 liters, and you can also put that hatch a little bit higher, and then you can actually secure your position for your basement garage, for example. Then we can see here we lose a little bit of height because of this cover, so but still looks quite square. And when you look underneath it, you can store some cables right there. So this is one possibility. Or for the additional cable that you don't use it often, then there's also this bag available here with this magnet. Or you can store the other cable also underneath. That would also be possible. Now to the hatch of the 508. See here, also electric tailgate, and also good square dimensions. We also put some luggage inside. The cable needs to be here actually, because here underneath there would not be sufficient space for a charging cable. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge, and we start here today with the DS7 Crossback E-Tense, and in this case also the 4x4 version. So you can get the very same drivetrain as you can get for the 508 with the front wheel drive only and the electric support, but here then in this case with an additional electric motor in the rear, giving us the all-wheel drive and the only all-wheel drive possibility then for this vehicle. So no pure combustion engine all-wheel drive possibility is actually present. However, it doesn't really matter that much if it's front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. In most situations not. It's more about the acceleration figure then. So this car is definitely quicker than in this version. So when the acceleration figure would usually be closer to 9 seconds, here will be about 6.6 seconds, so definitely way quicker. And of course, if you are living in countries or have some situations where you really need that all-wheel drive, then it also makes sense. In general, about the DS7 Crossback here, you have an upright seating position, that's really good, and you have a nice overview to the front. For the B-pillar, it's good to have a blind spot monitor, which we have on board here. To the rear, of course, the visibility is a little bit limited because the window is quite slim and limited. And the steering feeling here is quite light, but still, precise enough. And I think that's really different to the Citroën and the Peugeot cars here in the DS. I feel they mastered it a little bit better, that they have a more connected steering feeling. So this is really a great job. So it feels connected to the road, car and driver. So I'm really very positively surprised about that. It will also change according to the driving modes. At the moment we are right here, driving mode. We're just in the hybrid driving mode, so that means the car decides itself when just to use the combustion engine and when to drive just electric. And when we're just rolling, most of the time there's just then the electric drivetrain active, and then when we push the throttle, then actually the combustion engine also goes on. And you can also have then the different gauges here while driving. It's a little bit distracting that they take so much time to to load with this fancy visualization. And then we can also have these gauges in here. There are also the separate e-gauges here. We can also check out the flow right here, and then we can also see it. So when I'm off the throttle, actually Here we're gaining back battery energy. There we can see also in this visualization they put 2 of the electric motors here. Yeah, I guess it's better to see that. There again, what is active and what not. Yes, I mean the question is, what will you actually, do when you drive the car, So I think you won't look at that all the time. Here, I think surprisingly often the combustion engine is on. You can see it right here. But for example, when I switch to the electric mode intentionally, here we go, then combustion engine also goes off. Here I can see now, this is here then off, and then either rolling, for example, and nothing is active. So, and the pure electric driving mode, here again, fully charged, 50 kilometers, 30 miles of range. So it's actually quite acceptable. And there also the question is, are you using this energy first and then set on the combustion engine? On short rides, maybe yes, and then you recharge electrically. And on longer rides, you would rather use the hybrid mode then, and then try to use the combustion engine when that is more efficient, and the electric drive when you have like stop and go and something. Here in the electric mode, by the way, you can have here decent acceleration, also just pure electric. Sounds good, all silent, great electric driving moments. That's really so much more fun, and this car feels pretty agile, although it's you feel like a grown-up SUV, and it's just so much more fun to drive it all electric. Actually, that's pretty cool. And here we go. Now we put to the sports mode. Sports mode, then all the boost that is available, maximum. We're starting at about 40 kilometers an hour. See, and let's go. That's the one at 70 kilometers an hour. To cancel it here, and wow, there was some serious boost. So this is indeed the big difference then. So this powerful acceleration then with the all-wheel drive, 2 electric motor, 300 horsepower. Pretty impressive, and you wouldn't expect it maybe from this car or from this brand because they have like a performance image or something. It's not that silent here now at higher speeds. Even at here at about 130 kilometers an hour, I think it could be more silent. This car not laid out for so higher speeds. It might also be the building form of the SUV. So this is where, for example, the sedan or an estate has an advantage. There, it's just a little bit more silent, a little bit less wind resistance, and so on. So yeah, that's definitely something. I can just put the AC off for a moment, but no, that's not it. Just just to be safe. If it maybe was that, but that was not the case. But here also good feeling for the brakes. And now here about like 80 kilometers an hour. This is actually no problem as for noise insulation. But yeah, I think this is something that could work on with the noise insulation at higher speeds then. Here now cruising and soon going to a tunnel. Once again, lane keeping assist for this vehicle. The good thing for me is really again this upright seating position. You more have a traveling position, in this vehicle, and although it's not one of the longest SUVs, but in the front you feel already quite, elaborated, and also this, abundance of Alcantara used here all over the car. This really gives you a good driving feeling. Here now at night you can see the big display once again and this analog clock, and once again digital instruments. Panoramic roof is also a nice option to have. Of course, it leaves more light in the interior, especially on darker days. You always have to think about if you're living like in a very, very hot climate, then it might make sense just to go with the normal roof then. Also sometimes included in the trim. Now we're still in the sports mode. What I can also show you is there is also a 4-wheel drive mode, and this is then ensuring that you always have the all-wheel drive. If you might be in situations where you're stuck or something, then you always have the all-wheel drive available. So this is more like a, I would say, safety thing or something. But then you really know that you can use that all. But usually it's not really necessary to use that. Just stick in with the hybrid mode. Again, a lot of fun to steer this car around. The suspension, by the way, is set rather on a soft tone. I think they have very good compromise between the, sportiness and comfort. So I really like the setup, and this active scan suspension, how they call it, it really scans the road in advance and then adapts the dampers to it. And you really feel that it's not just a normal plain suspension, but really a more sophisticated one, and I really like that. And one more acceleration when we are already at speed, here at about 90 kilometers an hour, and let's go. So that's in 160 kilometers an hour, and yeah, pretty good, the acceleration again. Yeah, but again, the noise isolation could be a little bit better at higher speeds here. However, the stability then here, sports mode, is also a little bit stiffer than, more feedback from the steering wheel and so on. Lane change, higher speed, here we go. Let's now drive the Peugeot 508 as the plug-in hybrid version here too, the SW, and just getting here on the motorway. Interesting turning indicator sound. That sounds a little bit cheap just from the turning indicator, but yeah, that's maybe just being meticulous. We have a blind spot monitor here, this small dot. Small dot, it's really, really small, and it only appears in the direct moment where the car is in the blind spot. You could say this is more precise, so to say, but I think the systems that warn you a little bit in advance are a little bit better as for that. I wanted to try different things here with the plug-in hybrids today, and one thing I wanted to try with this car is also, what if you deplete it? And what's the fuel economy then when it's almost depleted? And also, how is it possible to recharge it while driving? That's of course not efficient, but there are often questions about, is that possible? And it is possible. So you can set this right side here to energy reserve and set to 10, 20 kilometers or max, and then the car now is recharging the battery while driving. Again, that is using a lot of fuel. It might make sense, when you think about future like emission zones, that you can, for example, only drive electric in a city and otherwise you're not allowed to enter. And then you could charge it here now on the motorway, and then you are still allowed to go inside the city, and hey, that could be a use case. And it seems to me that with every kilometer I drive with petrol, another kilometer of battery range is added. You know what I mean? So this is possible, but again, it's not really an efficient method to do that. It's actually better than, of course, to always charge it at home or at work, to get to a charging station and so on. So these plug-in hybrid vehicles, of course, make sense when they are being charged at home frequently, definitely. So there's an adaptive cruise control available and also lane keeping assist. However, here in the construction site, it's not really reacting very well. This is always a good test. Some cars do that, some don't. Here now it's a little bit easier. Then let's see here, not steering now again. Yeah, now it's picking up the lines here. Yeah, but no, never trust in 100%. And also lane keeping assist here is from time to time a little bit nervous. So not the best lane keeping assist here so far. Of course, in the 508, no matter if it's a sedan or estate, you sit lower than in an SUV, have a normal mid-size sedan or estate feeling here from the seating position. It's overall good and nice. And the overview is also not too bad. The big pillar here is super thick, so therefore the blind spot monitor is extremely important indeed. And now getting to about 100 kilometers an hour, and when I'm just running on a combustion engine, it's a small combustion engine for this car. Sometimes it feels a little bit stressed, So now getting, like a flying start, and we'll start from about 40 kilometers an hour and then accelerate it out and also get some high speed for you. So let's see, next C-Class, getting past, and let's go. So that's 180 kilometers an hour approximately. And that's also enough then here for our test for the day. I mean, quite reasonable acceleration, definitely. And here about 180 kilometers an hour, it also gets pretty loud. Although the noise insulation is not that bad. This car was not really built for regular speeds like this, more like, let's go 130 kilometers or 80 miles an hour. This is still reasonable, also noise insulation wise, can't complain about that. And you know, that's where the German manufacturers would still lead the French, because they really built for this autobahn racing, you know, really high speeds. The noise insulation is a little bit better than cars, more stable. Here, you know, lane change at 130 kilometers an hour. Car feels still quite stable, but not so much in control like the sportier sedans or estates. So the suspension here is also set on a, you know, more neutral, softer tone, which is not bad at all, but you know, not for super stability. It delivers you also a very nice experience. We also talked about with the interior here with the beautiful grey Alcantara seats. It's really so good. And it's also a nice seating position. However, as for me, as a tall driver, I definitely always feel that the SUVs are more comfortable long term. They're of course not more dynamic or something, you know, just in general, but just the long-term driving experience, when you have a more upright seating position, it's to me a little bit more relaxed, and you feel also, you know, that you would have more space. Here you feel also on your longer drive a little bit caged in, big middle console here. I don't have too much room for my legs, so I wouldn't exactly say that it's, you know, suited best for very tall drivers. However, of course, you know, I get along, as you know, show that you in interior here now a little bit more dynamic driving. It's actually quite good. Again, this car is really fun to drive, and different possibilities you have here with the plug-in hybrid. And we will already have, you know, a couple of kilometers charged once again. And then, for example, we can, you know, if we want to, we could go to the electric mode and then just drive purely on the electric drive. So, and this again gives us this serenity we have here. Very good for traffic situations, for example, when there's like a, you know, red traffic light, we can just, you know, roll, or maybe I don't get the next green light and then I just roll a little bit further, just pure electric. This is definitely reducing then the emissions inside the city. So people always ask me at the end of the day, what is the real fuel economy for this plug-in hybrid? And it so much depends on if you charge it or not. So you can't really say that, but if you use it in a hybrid mode and you're counting out the energy consumption for that, you can easily score very small single-digit liter figures. And now to our conclusion for today with our comparison episode, DS7 Crossback versus Peugeot 508 Estate. And of course the concept question, SUV versus Estate. I think let's start with that. First of all, it's a SUV. It has of course, you know, a more prominent design here on the road, a stronger stance than the flatter sedan or Estate, more elegant approach. On the interior, the main difference is that you have a more upright seating position in the SUV, and this actually really gave us more comfort, especially if you're a little bit taller. And the using of space on the interior is also a little bit better because all the seating is upright. And we've seen that the main difference is on the interior, I mean, this car is a little bit shorter, but main difference was really that we have the longer trunk here in the Estate. So that's really the question. Do you really need more space on the interior passenger compartment, or is it really that the long trunk is really crucial for you? In driving, also again, the SUV was a little bit more comfortable for longer journeys. However, then when it was up to higher speeds, noise insulation wise, from the wind resistance, the Estate had the advantage. So yeah, that's a really tough decision. It really depends on what you appreciate more, if the upright seating position is very important to you, or if rather the longer trunk is important to you and you may be more at higher motorway speeds also. But definitely important to know what the differences are. In general, the DS7 Crossback is a very unique SUV, pretty much standing out to the market in design, both exterior and interior, different with these interesting inspiration levels as well. There's a nice build quality also on the inside. And the driving experience is also performant on the one hand, especially with this dual motor setup here, but also comfortable enough with the active scan suspension. Even better than when you stick with the 19-inch wheels if you, for example, go with the performance line and don't upgrade to the 20-inch wheels. And then with the 508, it was also a nice driving experience, also a nice compromise between sportiness and comfort. Here with the single motor setup, which will also be available for this one here, there was the difference even a little bit bigger, that this one here was a little bit less sportier, although it is not the SUV, so that was a quite interesting experience. But of course, the plus in performance was also due to the additional motor setup. If you go with the single motor here with the DS7 Crossback, by the way, the driving is actually a little bit different, because then this one here is slower than this one. So it also depends on this motor setup. The overall hybrid technology is pretty much the same. It works quite well, and this 50 kilometers of pure electric range or 30 miles can easily be reached. The fuel economy really depends on if you use the hybrid mode together, so sometimes electric, sometimes combustion engine, you can easily score very, very low single-digit liter figures on 1 kilometers. If you're charging actually the battery while driving, then the consumption will be way, way, way higher, but usually you also should not really do that. The 508, by the way, also with a very unique setup here, especially in the plug-in hybrid variant. So their interior stylings are really very cool. Infotainment system software-wise, yeah, that's where they are both lacking some kind of refinement. It's a little bit too complicated. You also don't have separate climate knobs. So yeah, you have to think or rethink that definitely. And there was this, squeaking, rattling effect here in the DS7 Crossback in some left cornering. I think we have to check that out at the workshop. Cannot comment on this any further here at the moment. But that might be, some rubber thing or something, or maybe something needs to be fixed. We'll keep you updated with that on the comments later on. But overall, I think both cars here showed the avant-garde of the French automotive industry. Very interesting rides. The question is, which one would you go for? Which one would we go for? Me personally, I really like the styling of the 508, especially as sedan, by the way, and also the interior styling with the PHEV grey Alcantara there. So visually wise, I really prefer the 508. Driving wise, as for the comfort on longer journeys with the upright seating position, I prefer this one here, the DS7 Crossback, and also this dual motor setup was a lot of fun, was just, with a bigger punch. So, I would like this drive with this visuals. Yeah, but I think at the end of the day, since there's not much of a price difference between that, it's just the extra price for the additional motor there. Yeah, I probably would have ended up with this one then, just to have a little bit more comfort. What do you think, guys? Tell me your comments, and we see us in discussion or also at one of our next reviews. Bye.